There's a lot of moving photos of people coming back to their homes, hugging their mothers, hugging their family members. It's just, so emotional back then, because it's one of the highest, moments for any people that is occupied, is to be able to take with force, with dignity, what belongs to them, and to live. People couldn't just travel wherever they want. They could wait hours and hours being humiliated by the Israeli forces and by the collaborationist armies. But for the first time, this is people don't really understand in Lebanon, that it means so much for the people here to actually be able just to travel from town to town and not be humiliated. This is the thing the Israelis do even in the West Bank, and they're doing it in Gaza, to dehumanize, to take that conscience out of you. You are an animal, you're not a human. You should believe that, you should believe that.
Hey everybody, this is Laith Marouf from Free Palestine TV. Before we continue with this report, I ask you to press the subscribe button on whatever social media platform you're watching this on, and to go to our website, freepalestine.video, to donate so we can continue bringing you these reports. Today, we are doing a tour of some of the villages right on the border with occupied Palestine. We are also commemorating the Liberation Day in the year 2000, when the Israelis ran away with their tail in between their legs like dogs, under fire, left the occupied territories of Lebanon without signing any peace treaty or a ceasefire, and that was the most glorious victory in the history of the Arab Zionist struggle.
كان أجمل يوم عنا بحياتنا. ما صدقنا وقت ما كنا بالسور وقالوا لنا بدك تطلعوا على بلدكم. ما صدقنا.
We are in Aitaroun, and we have with us once more Ali Jezzini, the Al Mayadeen military analyst. Thank you very much, Ali, for joining us. We are in Aitaroun. There was an attack 2 days ago on a civilian while he was on his motorbike. Let's go check out the location where the attack happened. Tell us, Ali, about some information that we gathered right now while we are walking around in the village about this attack.
Well, it's just this attack seems like a continuation of the same Israeli policy that followed the so-called ceasefire. That's not actually a ceasefire. That has been going on since November 27. The issue is that the Israelis have been bombing random people during their daily lives, violating every international law, extrajudicially executing people, even civilian or not, despite, like, some could argue that, say, like, okay, this person or that person is a member of the party, but the thing is, it's during their civilian lives. No actual convention can say that you can kill them while their families are in front of their house or so on. So they're just actually making themselves God or judge, the Israelis, and it's just a continuation of also other policies that doesn't also mean to punish, but to prevent people from having a stable life. Just terror bombing campaigns, preventing people from having normal daily lives in this border area, to keep it as a buffer zone or semi-buffer zone, the way they think, because as colonists, that's the only way they actually can feel safe, by terrorizing other people. So we see here actually what remnants of an airstrike. There is shard ground, which is one of the inhabitants of the village. He came back and he was in the process of fixing his own home from damage that was sustained during the war. Here are some remains of his motorbike. We see where the airstrike happened. Some of the remnants of the missile, maybe I saw them on the way coming back here, but I can't really find them. No, I think this is a
from
part
the
of
motorbike.
the motorbike. Well, the thing is about these strikes, the Israelis are actually conducting them using heavy shrapnel loaded ammunition, and you can see the shrapnels around here on the walls.
Oh yes, that's where the
That's,
other missile fell.
Yeah, also. That's the location where probably the motorbike actually burned, and this is the missile.
Two of them.
Here.
1, 2.
Yeah.
And these are clearly armor-piercing missiles.
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's
Wow.
a dual use. Well, let me see this one.
It's very deep.
This one is, you can't see the bottom. It's actually quite interesting because
Yeah, it seems like it's more than 2 meters deep.
yeah, because usually what causes these damage is actually you know, the copper head, the molten copper jet that actually gets out when you're firing an anti-tank round. But thing is, we can see here like clearly, you know, some fragmentation patterns that's not due to the missile itself, but due to like multiple fragments being fired from the missile when it explodes. So it's actually a dual-use ammunition. Or maybe from the pattern that we see here, like this probably is a dual use. And this one, because we don't see the same pattern on the angle here of the fragmentation, I think this is actually a anti-tank or anti-armor missile. So they fire both, one of each type probably. It's about, yeah, the angle should be like that almost, but we see no fragmentation, because if you stand here, yeah, it does make sense. There are like some ricochets that way.
So it seems like they're using these anti-armor missiles and sharp-nail missiles on targets that are on motorbikes, scooters. So what does this tell us? In my mind, it tells me that they don't have any other targets, and they're like, why not use these anti-armor missiles on somebody on a scooter?
It's actually just to make sure the target is dead during double tapping, because if one missile fails, the other should work, and you're having both effects, because maybe the fragmentation missiles, if you fire it at a vehicle, will actually fail to explode. So you have the anti-tank that's actually disabling the vehicle, and then you can follow it up.
So it seems like actually 3 missiles were used.
No, it's actually what happened is he was probably going up, and then like after he was driving like this. After the missiles hit, the bike just strayed, you know, just kept going inertia, and landed there, and then continued to burn.
And what we heard is that, number one, the man died. I mean, people couldn't get close to him for 15 minutes because the drone kept on going in circles on top of him.
Yeah.
But the man wasn't burnt. We didn't lose any of his limbs, but died from...
Yeah, probably fragmentation or shockwave. Because it happens as depending on the area where he was hit. But this is like the bike strayed and went to the right, so he's probably going up. So what we can say is that this is the right side of the road, so he was walking on this side probably. So it wasn't like quite direct hit. It maybe happened like 2 meters away from him, and then he kept going.
Yeah, and we can see pieces of the bike all around here.
Yeah. You can actually see it. You can actually hear the drones above us now, like the same ones used to conduct the assassination. Who knows when your turn comes, you know, here at the Life in Lebanon. So let me see this one. I don't really know. I think it's I think it's part of the filter of the motorbike or something. Yeah, it's cardboard. So no, I'm not a motorbike expert. I wouldn't know. So as we were saying, the missiles that actually are being used are either the Israeli-made, called Micholit missile, which is it's dropped by the drones themselves as a free-fall munition that's guided either by ray lasers or the fire and forget Hellfire, US Hellfire-made missiles.
What is it that you're holding in your hand?
This is the seeker of the missile, probably, of the bomb, like the guided bomb, let's call it. Yeah, this is glass.
Yes.
Of course, it's shattered due to the pressure, and probably you can see here the wiring.
Wiring for the camera inside.
The burning side for the wiring, which is, it's actually linked to the guidance, what do you call it, mechanism to get the missile. This is not the warhead, this is just a seeker.
Yeah.
You can actually retrieve a lot of them from any of the strikes that happened during the last period. And there was a guy who was actually, we were talking to one of the neighbors, saying like, even though they double tapped the mortar, the Israelis, they prevented also people from coming close to him. That's also a thing they do for like quarter of an hour until the person bleeds out. You know? Just also, there are multiple occasions during the war where, well, actually 150 martyrs were recorded from the medical staff during the war, where the Israelis actually targeted them on purpose against all international laws. And the fact is, even though like he's a non-combatant, they are doing it. So one of the interesting stories is that also the wife of this martyr lost an eye in the pager attacks a few months ago during the war, also a violation of every international and humanitarian law. Him being also killed as a non-combatant is like, some would say, okay, like his wife got injured and he might be a person in the party, but
obviously those pagers were also given to people that work in the medical services of the resistance. So it's not that these were everybody that was injured with these pagers was directly involved in the armed struggle.
No, definitely. But like, even though, like, we're just, you know, making the devil's advocate here, even if he was, you know, he was killed just outside his home, and that is a violation of...
And he was bringing food to the family.
Yeah, he was just bringing food to his family. It's just like imagining, you know, somebody would just actually legitimize killing the wives and children, you know, of any European or Western armies, just because,
or killing the soldiers when they go back home.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
American occupation soldiers.
He's just going to, I don't know, Walmart or Lidl, or if you're in Europe or something, not just fucking... just killing him. So it's just I don't know, man, it's just double standards. You can't just it's very easily debunkable, but obviously what you actually see is that double standards everywhere. You know, it just doesn't come to them to actually the first idea to think about it is just, well, what if it happens to us? What it will be? No, it's just, you know, Arabs, brown people, okay, they're legitimate targets, even during the daily life.
Yes,
so,
I mean, there is the chosen people, and then there's the rest of us. This is what's on their mind, and as Animal Farm would say, everyone is, all humans are born equal, but some are more equal than others.
More equal than the other.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Let's keep going.
We did a tour inside the village, and we noticed, compared to a lot of other villages on the border, that actually there's a lot of people. We talked to one of the coffee shop owners, and he told us about the return of the villagers.
Actually, also as a southerner, you know, South Lebanon is quite big. I was surprised coming here to see actual people that are living in, despite the fact that each 1 or 2 days, you know, a bombing happened, and that the Israelis like are somewhere around on the hills there. So people are quite courageous here. Like, I was actually quite surprised how courageous are the people here. The thing is, I asked one of the also the people in the cafe about the percentage of people who actually returned. He told me it's about 30%, and the other haven't returned. Also, because of the destruction, and that the Israelis are preventing people from rebuilding. They bombed multiple, you know, attempts to rebuild, bulldozers and so on. And also, not only that, there was some prefabricated house that some organizations are collecting. Donations to actually put some prefabricated house. So the Israelis, the prefabricated house were empty, had nothing, according to the people in the village. And the Israelis told the UNIFIL, the United Nations Forces, to tell the Lebanese army that they're going to bomb them. So what the municipality here did is that okay, since you're going to bomb them, we're just going to move them away. And the Israelis threatened everyone that you cannot approach these prefabricated houses despite them being in the village itself. So it's just a terror bombing campaign of empty prefabricated house in before even they have like being facilitated, with water and electricity and so on.
We can hear a drone right now flying. It's been flying over us for the last half hour since we entered the village.
It gets the blood running,
And you can see people lifting some of the rubble there. There's a car that's destroyed. We heard about the efforts to reconstruct. Behind us, there's a house that the owner built a temporary structure with, metal roofing there. We heard the story that the government came, the Lebanese government came to harass the guy.
Yeah, this is just out of mind. I couldn't actually believe it until like multiple people confirmed the story in the village. That yes, there was a guy who wasn't threatened by the Israelis, but he was actually the police came, the government, and then came. Now you don't have a license to rebuild your house. It needs to be in rule. It's. I don't know how to comment on this. And
we heard this story also in another village. It's now becoming, it seems like the Lebanese government licensing bureau for construction is collaborating with the enemy to stop people.
The thing is, if you consider these people, to be your people, this is a national calamity. So what you should do is just a piece of paper. It is just a piece of paper. Like it's not a book written by God. You can just facilitate and just give licenses to people on very, very light regulations. Or even just, okay, you can rebuild your house as it was. There's nothing need to be there. But like you doing this by following the rules after a national calamity, either you are completely out of your mind, you're just stupid, or you are collaborating with the same people that actually preventing, money to come for the reconstruction until you hand out the resistance hands out its arms, so the Israelis can come here and do like they did in 48 and 78, come and kill people wherever they want. But not on like drone scale, but on mass scale, and to come and do like post blocks in before like they did in 2000, humiliating people for hours on the checkpoints. So that's one way or another. Like you could try whatever you want to just justify for the government, but there is just, you reach this conclusion at the end. As a southerner, I'm infuriated, and what makes me even more infuriated is that nobody in the media is talking about this. How this our government supposedly is acting like an occupation force sometimes.
There's multiple problems that the locals are facing trying to get back to their village. We already discussed the fact that the city hall and maybe like the ministry is refusing to allow people to get reconstruction licenses. What else are villages facing?
It's actually more so the state than the reconstruction, because according to Lebanese law, the municipality here can only give you a license for partial fixing of your home, like adding small stuff, but like for full reconstruction you need actually a government license. So the thing is, most of the houses here were built in before there was, during the civil war and so on. So not a lot of people, of course, nobody went to uni and there was no lawyers, nobody
there was an Israeli occupation here.
Yeah, so people built their homes like as they're supposed to build them, on their lands. So it's just out of the mind, the question. Also, there is the people who are telling us that they are here using strictly either, public generators for electricity. There is no power from the utility company, the state's utility company. And also, there are literally no water, despite the facilities of the water being intact according to the people here. So this is the main problem.
Still, the main water pipes are here. The water salination plant is just down the hill here. We at the intersection towards Shara. So the water could be delivered to the town, but it's not being delivered.
Yeah, mostly people here are saying the problem is some of the guys here were telling even like the rain was scarce this year, so there was not a lot of collection of rainwater here, so that is also a problem. Just a bad year overall. And they were telling us also on the economic side, most of the people here actually do count on agriculture, especially tobacco agriculture and fruit agriculture. And this is us, living in the staying in the inhabited part, while the camps are more to the south of the village. 90% of the agricultural lands in the village are still occupied by the Israelis, which they shoot everyone who tries to approach there.
They're not really occupied. The Israelis are right on top of them, but they're not allowing anybody to get close to the agricultural lands, which are mainly grown with tobacco, because that's the main crop that this village is famous for, and 90% of the tobacco lands are totally now unreachable for them. They haven't been able to plant last year or this year. One other thing they were telling us is that only 10% of the tobacco growing lands are still accessible. So that's 90% of the income of the tobacco farmers gone. There's also a huge, cheese and dairy farm factory in the village, because the Aitaroun, the city hall, was really good at taking care of its inhabitants. They built that factory. There was olive oil press. There was multiple pools, swimming pools, and soccer fields, as well as beginnings of a tourist destination, chalets for visitors. Now all of that is gone. And the village here, definitely, just so everybody can understand, it's not one of those villages that had to deal with this war for a few months, those 66 days. This village had to deal with a war that is ongoing for 18 months, basically.
Yeah, it's like this is the draining of the capabilities and the economic sustainment power of the inhabitants of the village. Because as you said, actually, and as a southerner, we did know, like I live very far from here, but everybody, it was known that Aitaroun's municipality was one of the most successful municipalities. The dairy factory that you actually mentioned is actually publicly owned and did employ people from this area and did export its products to the whole South Lebanon and probably to other parts of Lebanon as well. This was one of the richest, to say, in economic activities villages on the border area, also with Mais, which had Jabal, which had also a lot of furniture factories. The thing is, the Israelis aren't just shooting people when they're approaching, they're trying to take away the means of life, main facilities and economic activities as a policy of ethnic cleansing, despite people attempting courageously to come back. They're just not allowed. The state here, you have the Lebanese government and you have the Israelis from the other side.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable.
You can see that Hebrew graffiti. So clearly the Israeli soldiers stayed in this house and then they decided to blow it up from the inside. They put charges on the beams to blow it up after they left. We're at the edge of Aitaroun village. We can see the hills that mark the border between Palestine and Lebanon. Tell us about what's happening in these hills.
Well, basically, this is not actually quite the borders, as we spoke earlier. There are like some plains behind these borders that extend like to 1.5 kilometers, where the people actually do plant tobaccos and other crops that are prevented at the moment from going to there by the Israelis, that are still situated on one of the hills that we can't see here. This is behind this mountain. It's called Jabal al-Bat. And they have like visual control over the plains, but because this plain there is at the same level of the Israeli settlements, Avivim and so on. Also because the Israelis they're that scared, the Israeli colonists. They cannot. That's the only way that they think they can be saved, is by terrorizing other people and preventing them from going back. This is as the Israeli society continues to shift to the right, this becomes more of a normality thing for them. What is also regarding this area, there is a lot of also touristic locations and some factories also that people are still being prevented from going there. And one of the inhabitants here also told us that there is no official, land border demarcation between like occupied Palestine by the Israelis and Lebanon, because we don't recognize the Israeli occupation. What has been done after the 2000, there was something called the Blue Line, which has been marked by blue barrels by the UN. So one of the citizens and inhabitants here told us that the Israelis advanced the barrels, the blue barrels, for...
It's up this valley between these two hills.
Yeah, they have advanced it for like 1 kilometer, 1.5 kilometers. Technically, signaling that this is going to be a gradual annexation, land grab and annexation of lands until the situation changes. Also, this has been reported on multiple occasions also in the other sector.
These hills were all covered in actual forest before.
Yeah.
What happened here?
Mostly the Israelis, it was mostly on the other side. There was some place called the forest, the inhabitants of Aitaroun call it. The Israelis did bomb it by phosphorus, 155 millimeter shells to burn it. And when it wasn't enough, when they entered, they did actually just either burned it or bulldozed the whole thing. That's part of the ecocide that they have been doing also in other areas where they changed completely, especially in Aita Sha'ab and Ramia. There is a lot of photos of them burning complete forests that are very, very old to actually open the view. It's just going to be like a no man's land area.
Well, the Israelis are still up on the top of these hills and they keep on coming down, we hear from the locals.
Yeah, sometimes they go down and they put some checkpoints
and we can still hear this drone hovering around, and we are being eaten alive by little black flies that maybe you can't see in this camera. So we're gonna head out of here before either the black flies or the black death that is the Zionists get us. We are in Aainata. We're overlooking the village. We can see all this destruction. Behind the hill is Aitaroun, where we were. And we drove through this. Today is the Liberation Day commemoration. Up there on the hill is Mace.
It's Maroun al-Ras.
Maroun al-Ras. And behind it again is Palestine. And there's still Israeli soldiers on those two hills up there. Today is the Liberation Day commemorations. What was so important about that day of the liberation for the Lebanese people?
For the Lebanese and Arab people in general, the Liberation Day represented the liberation moment of the Arab mind, first and foremost, because like, as a personal example, I was reading a lot of the comments of Palestinian people, most of them in Gaza, saying something along the lines that we were sure of the Liberation Day, and what inspired us is the images of Mu'taq al-Khiyam, the Khiyam prison camp, being broken, the doors being broken, and Lebanese people being liberated. So the second intifada then happened afterwards right away because of the morale, the morale boost. And because Israelis, they can kill people physically, but when the mind is dead, the nation is dead, the struggle is dead. So that was the thing. For colonial people, they might be materially, for colonized people, they might be materially, inferior due to the technological monopoly of the colonizers. But as long as you do believe in it, you have faith and hope, you would still go on. So the fact that in 2000 and then in 2006, that hope just continued to increase, that this is a possibility. And that contradicts the whole narrative of the Zionist Iron Wall, because it's based on the fact that Arabs should believe that we are invincible and that they cannot uproot us from this colonized land. We are here to stay. So the fact that the Arab continues to believe we have superior numbers, history can change, the material circumstances can change at any moment, and they would be at danger. But when you start losing the feeling of the struggle and losing faith, that's when it's over. The fact that this Liberation Day, despite also the difficult situation that we're living in with the Israeli soldiers continuing their incursions, breaking the ceasefire, as a personal experience, when I was seeing the images, it always brings me back. It happened once, it can also happen another time, maybe in a different material circumstance, but it can definitely happen. This have happened. So never to lose faith despite the losses. We lost family, we lost friends, but never to lose faith. Especially these areas, they have been completely cut off. The state ignored them for a long time. And we already talked about the Lebanese government doing. This is not Lebanon for the Lebanese government. And when the people did liberate their lands, a lot of the resistance fighters back in 2000 were from these villages. Their parents sent them to Beirut in before the liberation because they didn't want them to get forcefully recruited into the collaborationist Laith army with the Israelis. So they came back, they trained, and then they took their lands. There's a lot of moving photos of people coming back to their homes, hugging their mothers, hugging their family members. It's just, so emotional back then because it's one of the highest, moments for any people that is occupied is to be able to take with force, with dignity, what belongs to them and to live. People couldn't just travel wherever they want. They could wait hours and hours being humiliated by the Israeli forces and by the collaborationist armies. But for the first time, this is people don't really understand in Lebanon, that it means so much for the people here to actually be able just to travel from town to town and not be humiliated, This is a thing the Israelis do even in the West Bank, and they're doing it in Gaza, to dehumanize, to take that conscience out of you. You are an animal, you're not a human. You should believe that, They try just to instill it in your mind, and we are here to stay like the angel of death, we're not leaving. So the real enemy of the Israelis, before the rockets came, before missiles, before heavy and modern weaponry comes, is that they believe that this thing can be broken, and they can be broken. That's actually the most important thing about the liberation.
Yes, the dignity, the belief that we are equal, we're not less than. And because we have this history of many occupations before these Zionists came, the Crusaders, the Romans, the Ottomans, and they were all defeated and left. So what we see of the glorification of the terrorist pager attack, and or how the Zionists are purposefully rubbing it in our face whenever they kill children, whenever they rape prisoners. This is all, as you're saying, is to break the will of the people, to make people believe that it's impossible to defeat the chosen people as they want everybody else to.
Barak said it in the beginning of the October 7 war. He said it actually that the moment Arabs start believing that they can defeat us, it's over. It's not about the material power. He said something along the lines that after October 7, if 1 million Arab came just on the West Bank with knives, what are you going to do about it? It's just to know about the prison logic. 5% or even less are prison guards. They are 95%. The moment these 95% that they can overpower. There's nothing they can do, but it's just, we always do it as Arabs one by one. You know, we have like our internal fightings, but the moment everyone believes in this common goal, even if the losses, like any liberation movement, you know, like in Vietnam, are 10-1, hopefully they're not, it's just going to be over for them. That's why they need to instill this fear and this despair. That's the thing, that they win when they manage to instill despair in you, to just give up on your land, and they will ultimately win. The thing is, just not to go back a lot away from the subject, that's why also they're using the Arab Gulf monarchies now with the whole media, cinema, narrative thing, you know, because they could not penetrate the Arab culture, you know, that was focused mainly on Palestine and before. So they used the production houses, buying writers that or journals, whatever the UAE and Qatar and Saudi Arabia are doing to penetrate the Arab movement. So you see, like now, movies not politicized. You see, it's about living in Dubai, it's about living in the Gulf countries, and that's why you see such degeneracy, I would call it, in the values of a lot of Arab people, that they see the material gains of, you know, the dream of living as a, you know, upper middle class or bougie class in the Gulf, and not liberating in their land and living in dignity with it, you know. The only wealth can come from the Gulf, the only wealth can come from America, and the only peace can come from making peace with Israel.
And I think the biggest blow to Arab culture of resistance is the fall of Syria and all this production houses, the movies and TV shows and music that was coming out of Syria that were culturally resistant, even telling our folklore that is part of the rootedness in our land. So now this is all gone. It's now in the hands of ISIS, and therefore by the Saudis and the Emiratis and the Qataris. It's a big blow. I don't know which capital in the Arabic world is still going to be able to produce these historical dramas that root people in this culture. Well, this was a kind of a long day. We spent a lot of time here. Thank you very much, Ali Jezzini, for being with us. And hopefully we'll have you in a few weeks again. Inshallah. Happy commemoration of liberation for all our Lebanese brothers and sisters and all Palestinians and Arabs in general that believe in resistance, and we wish that this day of liberation will be repeated again and again until the defeat of the Zionist colony. This is Laith Marouf from Free Palestine TV. I remind you one more time to press subscribe button on whatever social media platform you are watching this on, and to go to our website freepalestine.video to donate so we can continue bringing you these amazing field reports. Until we see you next time, I bid you all a free Palestine.